Hola amigos, Senior Dixon here, and I'm here to kick off the 2020 Dia de los Muertos poster contest at Tillamook High School. So what is Dia de los Muertos? Well, Dia de los Muertos is a Mexican celebration where people remember people that have passed away and their families. November 1st recognizes and remembers children that have passed away, and November 2nd remembers everybody else, the adults. So I'm going to give you some ideas for the poster contest. On a regular sized piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, you're going to create an image that represents Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos isn't Halloween, but it's around the same time. And so people can kind of get them confused. If you've seen the movie Coco, you kind of know the idea. The idea is that the people in the spiritual world come back to visit the living on November 1st and November 2nd. The idea is that when someone passes away, the concept is their life continues in the spiritual world. And so oftentimes you'll have a lot of colorful artwork that's associated with this and remembering the loved ones in a kind of a positive way, even though they've passed away, which is obviously very sad. So take a look at this picture right here. This is a painting. This lady has painted herself as a skeleton and has added some very colorful decorations. This isn't a Halloween decoration. This is a painting that she did, a face painting that she did for Dia de los Muertos. Here we have an altar, and then a lot of times at people's homes they will create altars with skeletons, with marigold flowers as a very important symbol for Dia de los Muertos. It was the sign that life continues in the spiritual world. This is what the ancient Aztecs believed, that the marigolds represented the sign that life continued on in the spiritual world. And then here we have some other Mexican artwork. The papel picado, the paper cutouts, is a traditional decoration that you'll have at many different Mexican celebrations. You have candles here. The candles represent the light for the spirits to find their way back to the homes on Dia de los Muertos. You have the sugar skulls and the figurines that represent Dia de los Muertos. You have Pan de los Muertos. Pan de los Muertos is a traditional bread that's baked around this time of year and put in the altars. This here is a cemetery, and in the cemetery you can see is some traditional decorations, the marigold flowers, the candles. Let's take a look at some more decorations. Here we have an altar. The altars are created sometimes in public displays as a competition, but also at homes and in public spaces. Here we have the deceased, we have the marigold flowers, fruit, we have food, we have Pan de los Muertos. There's skeleton images here too. This is an example of a girl that has painted herself as a skeleton. Very colorful, very not necessarily freaky. It's not like a Halloween decoration. This is a Dia de los Muertos face painting. Here what we have is a cemetery that's decorated in flowers and candles, and people will oftentimes go to the cemetery and have picnics during Dia de los Muertos. Next slide. More skeletons. The skeletons are an important part of this tradition because the skeletons represent the spiritual world and that life is continuing on. And so oftentimes you'll see people depicted in everyday life. Okay, so you can see these mariachis here, and these señoritas they're dressed up and they're smiling. Again, here in the open air market, people will buy skeletons, colorful skeletons to put on their decorations. You have figurines that are very important for this tradition too. People will put these figurines in their homes as decorations for Dia de los Muertos. Here is an important image of Dia de los Muertos. This is La Catrina, and oftentimes you'll see these people dressed up in dresses with big hats on. This is from a Mexican artist, Jose Guadalupe Posada, and he made this picture for a newspaper that he worked for, and it depicted Dia de los Muertos and the image of this big fancy hat, which was in style at the time. And so oftentimes you'll have people dressed up like La Catrina. This is a famous image of La Catrina. And so if we go to a modern day picture, you'll see this lady right here. She is dressed up as La Catrina. And so that tradition continues of the big hats with flowers And off here on this mural too, you can see these Catrinas in the background. And so that's a very famous Mexican image for Dia de los Muertos. That tradition has continued to be important in the culture. You can see here the colorful mask here. Not necessarily freaky, but so it's not a Halloween decoration, but this is Dia de los Muertos. Different. Here we go at a parade in big cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, and obviously in Mexico, they'll have parades, Dia de los Muertos parades, and these people are dressed up as Catrinas and Dia de los Muertos people. Here we go, some more images of Dia de los Muertos. You have obviously the candles in the cemetery. You have the marigold flowers. This is an example of an altar with Pan de los Muertos, the skeletons. Again, the marigold flowers. So let's take a look at the contests. So the Dia de los Muertos poster contest. Here's what you have to do on a regular size paper, 8.5 by 11. Draw a poster that represents Dia de los Muertos. In your poster, you must include the title Dia de los Muertos and November 1st and 2nd. Think about the images, the colors, and the art you saw in the video that we're going to share and in the presentation that I just got done showing you. To be eligible to win the contest, you must take a picture of your poster and turn it in by Friday, October 30th, and turn it in to Mrs. Harrington or to me in your class by Friday, and we will vote on them this weekend, and we'll announce the winners on Monday. Take a look at some of our examples from last year. So these people have the images of Dia de los Muertos in their posters, and they've included the title, the date, and then you can see the candles, the marigold flowers, the altares, and let me see here. Yeah, just the different images that represent Dia de los Muertos. Take a look at these. Get your ideas together and get your posters in soon. And gracias. Thank you for your listening to me today. Adios.